WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JB Buno.
A sudden press conference called by Hoover police in the Carlee Russell case. After several days without any developments, police set to release new information about the woman who claimed to be abducted in central Alabama, only for investigators to share evidence suggesting an abduction never took place. Hello there, folks. JB here with you live on WFLA Now. A sudden live stream, to say the least, with the Carlee Russell case. Specifically, Hoover police saying that they are going to be holding a 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central press conference that we're going to be carrying here for you live on WFLA Now. We have several feeds coming into the Stream Center, including this one that is just coming in to the Stream Center just moments ago, seconds ago. So this is the first time I'm seeing this, but you can clearly see the podium that is set up for the press conference that will be happening in about 25 minutes from now. We are currently live on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, and then a special hello to our YouTube audience from here in the Stream Center. We're going to be reviewing what we have learned in this case, how it began, the sudden sort of flip of the script, if you will, regarding Carlee Russell, and what we are expecting as far as this update at 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central. Carlee Russell, 2 Thursdays ago, vanishes, saying that she saw a toddler on the side of I-459 in Hoover, Alabama. Pulls over her car. There's video of her vehicle. There it is right there on your screen, putting on her hazards, calling 911 on the phone with a family member as well. And as police arrive as a result of that 911 call, Carlee vanishes, and with no sign or trace of the toddler that she reported missing on the side of the interstate. This spurs a urgent and very intense 49-hour search in central Alabama. We covered it here on live stream. Anything that we could do to share, to get shares and retweets up as high as they possibly could, to get the word out, to be on the lookout for Carlee Russell. After approximately 49 hours, Carlee Russell turns up at her home, her parents' house in central Alabama, walking on foot. And that, of course, was news that was met with tremendous joy, relief, people sharing, my goodness, thank goodness Carlee Russell is okay. But as the hours and days would develop thereafter, there started to be some people asking questions regarding Carlee's story. What happened to Carlee Russell? Was there an abductor? What happened to the toddler that she reported missing on the side of the road? Really, what happened that night, that Thursday night, when it was dark out there, 9:30 or so, in Hoover, Alabama, along the interstate? Nobody else reported a missing child. Why was that? And also, too, why wasn't there this urgent search for police to find who is responsible for Carlee's abduction? Well, a police press conference in the subsequent days afterward, this past Wednesday, would reveal some troubling information, information that suggested that an abduction never took place. Just information and evidence that police released that Carlee's story just wasn't exactly proving to be true based on what investigators had determined. There was missing items from the vehicle. There was a troubling Google search history as well. And really, social media at large started to express significant doubt as to whether or not Carlee Russell's story was true. After that press conference this past Wednesday, there were days of just silence. Really, the past weekend was completely silent. I noted on Twitter that there wasn't a statement issued by the Russell family. There wasn't any posts on social media from her family or friends commenting on the idea that the abduction never took place. There was a lot of just pure quiet out there, and that, of course, was interesting after a several day period where all we heard was Carlee Russell news coming out of Central Alabama. So that brings us to the press conference today. There are rumors flying about on social media in regards to what has transpired this afternoon in Hoover, Alabama. We do not report rumors. We, of course, report facts. We're going to stay fact-based. And, of course, we're going to get it directly from the source, the Hoover Police Department, when that press conference does, in fact, begin. I'll hit the touchscreen here. Does, in fact, begin in about 20 minutes from now. Again, 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central. When that press conference begins, I will be muting my microphone. I will be, of course, going full screen to the press conference. And then after the press conference concludes, what we'll be doing is breaking down what we have learned, what we do know, what we don't know, and having an interactive discussion with you here on WFLA Now. Speaking of our interactive discussion here on WFLA Now, as we try to bring you directly into our news coverage, as we try to correct any misinformation that exists online, as we try to provide fact-based coverage here interactively on WFLA Now. What we do is we use, you see the hashtags all around your screen. You see it in the bottom left underneath my name. It says hashtag HeyJB. For those of you who have been with us here before, you know how this works. If you use hashtag HeyJB with your social media comment, regardless of platform, we can interactively bring it up on screen here and address it, whether it's a question, whether it's an observation that you have, something that you've heard about. We just want to keep the train on the track, so to speak, when it comes to the information that we share here on the live stream. If it doesn't have hashtag HeyJB, we'll just let the comment go on by. It'll scroll up on your screen. We're not going to pluck any comments that where people do not want their name and their profile picture up on screen. So here, I'll just show you as an example. Here's Wall Street has this first comment. Hashtag HeyJB, thank you and your team for informing us. We were covering, it's been a very busy day here in the state of Florida as far as news coverage goes. This was something that came up out of nowhere, really. And so if there's a reason as to why this was such a sudden press conference, not something that was announced hours ago, but really in the last hour or so, maybe perhaps we'll find out some context coming up here at the 5 o'clock Eastern press conference. So, and I'll bring up this comment from She Speaks Prosperity, hashtag HeyJB. Please remind the public that society should still care to search for people when gone. Missing persons cases are still extremely important to me. I think it's still extremely important to journalists and reporters across the country, around the world. We have a significant problem in this country when it comes to missing persons cases. There are great organizations. It takes so many organizations and different parts of society working together to help solve these missing persons cases, whether we're talking about local police departments, the federal government with the FBI, various, non-for-profit organizations out there, the media, and of course you, community members, just folks on social media who focus so much on missing persons cases. You're very much part of the solution. I don't expect that that mission to lose steam because of what potentially might be a case where we were led to believe something, and then, of course, we find out something completely different. It's just a reminder that, of course, that we always have to be very, very careful about the information that we share. Remember where you're attributing news and information from, and remember that there's so much to these stories that we do not know. People are so accustomed to reading, and this just goes for, I'm not even speaking about Carlee Russell. This is a lot of cases. People are so accustomed to reading headlines and not reading, some of the other, the details of the story itself. When you click on that link, or when you go down through an article, some people skim. There's sometimes details that get lost because we're such a headline-focused society. So hopefully we all learn from this. Everybody has an opportunity to learn from this. Yeah, I can't, Jane. I see that. As far as those rumors, those are rumors that I am aware of, but we do not report in rumors. We're trying to get to the bottom of what happened recently and what spurred this sudden press conference by police, but we can't be saying that, or we can't be reporting those rumors at this time. Jane wants to know, how much notice were we given? I found out about it about, what was it, half an hour ago? 35 minutes ago? Somewhere in that territory? So basically within 70, 80 minutes, not even, less than an hour after the, before the press conference, I should say, rather. Creative Cell Therapy. I'm new to this channel, wanting to try it out. Welcome. This is something we do that's where we, the focus here is interactive journalism. Without going on my big spiel, interactive journalism is something that I practice here at WFLA. It's what we do here in the Stream Center, as far as trying to have a conversation with you, regardless of where you're watching from or what platform you're watching on. If you use the hashtag that's on your screen, we can feature your comment here interactively on WFLA Now. Let's see here. I'm getting one person saying that audio, any audio problems, hopefully. And that's another thing about being interactive, is that you guys can tell me, how's the audio sound? We sounding okay today? Hopefully I can get some thumbs up or some feedback as to how our, especially, I'll hit the touchscreen again, especially before the press conference begins. We'll do our very best to make sure that our audio sounds crystal clear. We also take pride in providing the highest quality feed that we possibly can in full HD, so that you guys have a good, high-quality feed to rely on. I will point out as well, here in the Stream Center, one of the reasons I have these screens, and it applies to this particular live stream, we have now multiple feeds coming in. We have, of course, a lot of different cameras that are going to be in the room pointing at the podium for this press conference. I have access to multiple here in the Stream Center. We'll be taking the higher quality feed with the best video and the best audio, so that you guys can have the best feed possible here in the Stream Center. Let's look here. Other comments that we have coming in. Let's see. Let's see. Jakey says, hashtag KJB watching from the UK. Sounds great now. Thanks. Yeah, you know what's interesting is that our audience here is international. So the Carlee Russell case, we'll talk more about this after the press conference and what we have learned. But for what it's worth, this is a case that has garnered an international audience, because the internet, obviously, it's global. So people who have heard about this story from different countries, whether it be in Europe or Africa or Asia. People are familiar with this story and been following it. So they're tuning in here, including Jakey in our comment section. Again, if you're just joining us, JB here with you live, a little bit early, about 12 minutes early. And what we're going to do is we're going to launch live here on all platforms momentarily. Right now, we're just on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, and on YouTube Live. We're going to launch to a couple of other platforms, including Facebook Live here momentarily, to to make sure that we are reaching the largest audience possible, to share what is considered to be a highly anticipated update. After, of course, we had the Hoover Police press conference this past Wednesday, which, again, a lot of evidence suggesting that an abduction never took place. We're about to find out exactly, what the police update is that spurred this sudden press conference. Really quickly, I'll go through some more comments here in just a second. But really quickly, as far as the evidence that was released in that press conference, some things, the troubling Google search history about the movie Taken, about the cost of an Amber Alert, about the age requirement for an Amber Alert, stealing money from a register, having $107 in her sock was another detail that was added. Another detail that was provided, the 600 yards that Carlee Russell traveled as she was on the 911 call, as she was on the phone, as she was pulled off on the side of I-459 that night. We heard a lot of details from officials, doubt as to whether or not a toddler, again, were 3 to 4 years old, according to Carlee, a white boy with clothes on but no socks, walking. Again, was that boy really walking 600 yards on the side of the road? Again, there's just a lot of details that were released over the course of that press conference this past Wednesday that just don't fit in with what Carlee told police with the initial statement that was provided. Let's also really point out, this is something that was big. On Wednesday, police said that they had made attempts to communicate with Carlee to get a second interview in, to have another statement provided, in addition to the initial one that she gave when she turned up at the house. And police were not given the opportunity to ask Carlee questions. Whether or not that has changed now, if there's been more communication between Carlee and police, perhaps that's something that we will find out coming up here in the press conference, again, that starts in fewer than 10 minutes from now. And in just a moment, we'll launch live across all platforms. Lil Patty says, #KJB, regardless if this is a hoax or not, I will always share for missing persons. And I hope that that energy is carried throughout our comment section. Missing persons case is something that we cover quite a bit here on WFLA Now. Missing person cases, something that's very important to me, thinking about all the families out there that do not have closure in regards to the person who, their loved one who has gone missing. Whether it's a case that is 3 hours old, 3 days old, 3 weeks old, 3 months old, 3 years old, or 3 decades old, it doesn't matter. Missing persons cases are very important. And if we can use the power of social media to spread cases and provide, families with some hope that their loved one will be found, or at the very minimum that they'll have some closure in regards to their loved one, that's something that I take very seriously, something I try to focus on as far as my work here at WFLA. There's a lot of rumor-based, theory-based comments with #HeyJB that we're going to wait until the press conference, because, folks, we're going to have answers in about, really 9 minutes from now, 8 minutes from now, really. So I understand that people are saying, "Ooh, I think that this happened," or "I believe that this happened regarding police." I see your comments, but as of right now, we're just going to try to avoid speculative comments on screen, to stay fact-based and to give police the opportunity to set the record straight in just a few minutes. Speaking of which, what we're going to do here momentarily is we are going to you're going to see a countdown roll on your screen. That countdown is just a 60-second break to allow us to go live on other platforms. So if you see that countdown, please don't be alarmed. It's just us resetting and relaunching our live stream to be live in as many places as possible. We'll look through some other comments in the meantime. People who are asking about, let's bring up audio here for a second.
And then I'll go back and get them. So they just told me it's Captain Zescaliba is going to lead off. If you would, because there are a few new faces in here, just he's going to pass it off to Chief Thursas. He's going second, and then there will be a brief question and answer period. So, if Captain Zescaliba, like you did the other day, is going to be the one to call on you guys. Okay, so just make sure after he recognizes you, just to give your name and affiliation, so we know who you are. Okay, appreciate it. So a couple of minutes. We'll go to 2 minutes, and I'll go grab him. All right.
And with that, we're going to reset here. We'll be back in 60 seconds with the press conference here on WFLA Now. Stand by.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JB Buno.
A sudden press conference called by Hoover police in the Carlee Russell case. After several days without any developments, police set to release new information about the woman who claimed to be abducted in central Alabama earlier this month, only for investigators to share evidence last week suggesting an abduction never took place. Hello there, folks. JB here with you live on WFLA Now in the WFLA Now Stream Center, now officially live across all platforms. Welcome in. Let's hit the touchscreen and take you to Birmingham, Alabama. The podium has been set up. We've been given a 2-minute warning. If you have found this live stream, don't go anywhere. We're going to be listening in here for the update from Hoover Police in central Alabama on the Carlee Russell case. For those of you unfamiliar with the Carlee Russell case, this is a young woman who called 911 claiming that a toddler was on the side of I-459 a couple of Thursdays ago. But by the time that authorities got there, there was no sign of the toddler. There was no sign of Carlee Russell. Fast forward 49 hours, Carlee Russell turns up at her parents' house claiming that she was abducted. But a subsequent investigation by Hoover police leads them to then disperse evidence to the media and to the public that just the story just doesn't add up. Carlee Russell's story doesn't exactly add up with what she claimed happened that night in Hoover, Alabama. There hasn't been much the last several days in regards to this story, but we're moments away from finding out an update. There are, without question, rumors flying about on social media in regards to this story. We are not going to be reporting rumors. We are reporting fact, and we're moments away, seconds away from getting facts in this case directly from the investigators and from the police chief and Hoover government officials who are going to be speaking on this case, because this story, Hoover, Alabama, has been on the map on social media the last several days. People wanting to know, really the last couple of weeks, people wanting to know what exactly happened that Thursday night, where Carlee Russell was over that 48 hours, and did an abduction actually take place. Let's listen in.
You guys ready? 2 minutes.
All right, so that's the official 2-minute warning. When the press conference begins, I will be, you won't see me, you won't hear from me. We're going to go to the press conference full screen. After the press conference concludes, we will be breaking down what we have learned, what we know, what we still don't know, and interactively bringing you into the conversation here on WFLA Now. We have made sure that this is the most high definition, the best looking, the best quality feed that we have for you here in the Stream Center. We have multiple feeds, but this is the best one. Audio is coming through crystal clear. So after the press conference concludes, what we'll be doing again, is breaking down the latest developments in this case. So again, this is live from Hoover, Alabama. Monitoring your comments, your questions here on social media. I see you joining us here on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live as well. I see the tweets coming in. You know, it's interesting. I say tweets, but are they X's now? You know, did we really need to rename Twitter? Was that necessary? You know what? Maybe we'll talk about that more at the end of this live stream. The most important pressing matter, of course, is this Carlee Russell press conference that begins here from Hoover, Alabama. Again, police officials, government officials are going to be speaking here, and our coverage continues after the press conference takes place here on WFLA Now. You can read the latest on this story on WFLA.com, WFLA app. This feed coming in from our Nexstar sister station, WIAT CBS 42, providing us with this live feed. And again, we were given the 2-minute warning. So if you're looking for the live feed, that's going to, again, or the press conference, it will begin here momentarily. I'll be muting my microphone. I'll be back here after the press conference concludes on WFLA Now.
Good afternoon. I'm Captain Keith Suscaleba with the Hoover Police Department. We're here today to provide an update in the Carlee Russell investigation. Chief Nick Durzis will read a prepared statement that will provide an update in this case. After reading the statement, we will have time for a few questions related to the case. Keep in mind, this is still an ongoing investigation, and there are some questions we simply cannot answer at this point. With that, I'll turn it over to Chief Durzis.
Thank you, Captain.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Thanks to everyone for attending again today. I want to thank the members of our department and all of law enforcement who played a role in the investigation of this case. Last Wednesday, July 19th, we held a press conference and provided you with the facts of the Carlee Russell disappearance. We told you the investigation was ongoing, and we helped you determine where Carlee was during the 49 hours of her disappearance. Today I've talked to and received a statement from Mr. Emery Anthony, attorney for Carlee Russell. Mr. Anthony has scheduled a meeting for Carlee to meet with investigators early this afternoon, but then I received an email stating that a statement was being provided by him on her behalf. Mr. Anthony asked that I read the statement in its entirety, which I will do now. My client has given me permission to make the following statement on her behalf. There was no kidnapping on Thursday, July 13th, 2023. My client did not see a baby on the side of the road. My client did not leave the Hoover area when she was identified as a missing person. My client did not have any help in this incident, but this was a single act done by herself. My client was not with anyone or any hotel with anyone during the time she was missing. My client apologizes for her actions to this community, the volunteers who were searching for her, to the Hoover Police Department and other agencies as well, as to her friends and family. We ask for your prayers for Carlee as she addresses her issues and attempts to move forward, understanding that she made a mistake in this matter. Carlee, again, ask for your forgiveness and prayers. We have a meeting scheduled with Mr. Anthony to further discuss this case. We're currently in discussions with the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office in Bessemer about possible criminal charges related to this case, and we will announce those charges when and if they are filed.
All right, with that, we'll take a few questions. As Officer Hale said, when I call on you, please state your name and your affiliation. Yes, sir.
Keith Mims, WAGG 610 100.1 FM Summit Media. Chief, do we at this time, or does the Hoover Police Department know the whereabouts of Carlee Russell during that 49-hour period that she was supposedly missing?
Now, as I said the other day, was talking facts and everything. If I said anything today, would just be speculation. Actual facts, we do not.
Aaron Llewellyn, WBC 13. Can you tell us what her motivation was for doing this, if you can?
I wish I could tell you. I think only Carlee knows, and maybe her attorney now, but again, the statement that we received from him does not indicate any.
Brittany Dio, WVRC, can you give us an idea of what charges you may be filing against her?
That would strictly be up to the district attorney's office.
David Lamb, CBS 42, can you update us so that there is a meeting scheduled for this afternoon with the family, or when is that meeting taking place with Carlee?
No, not a meeting with the attorney, not the family or Carlee. We have a meeting scheduled with the attorney, and that will take place some point tomorrow.
And there is no meeting with Carlee Russell or her family at this point?
Not scheduled, no, sir.
Bria Chapman with Fox 6. What's next to close this investigation?
Well, again, we want to talk to Mr. Anthony tomorrow and see if he has any more to discuss about the case. We'll certainly be asking if we'll get an opportunity to again interview Carlee like we've wanted to since she returned.
Chief Stephen Quinn, ABC 3340.
Yes, sir.
Your reaction now, knowing that Carlee has admitted that this was made up?
Well, I'm glad that we got this. You know, we certainly laid the facts out to you guys and to the national media that had a lot of interest in this particular case. The sad thing is that again, there were so many people that were involved, took this thing very, very seriously, and again, we wanted the focus to be bringing her home. She got home. We're very excited about that. You know, it is what it is. The facts, I think, last Wednesday pretty much showed that we knew that it was a hoax.
Lisa Crane with WVTM 13. Do you know the expense you went to during this search? And if you don't have a dollar figure for us, just how big it was for you guys?
Well, it was all hands on deck, and we don't have a dollar figure yet, but we're certainly working towards getting one, and not only ours, but there'll be other agencies that had a lot of support that they gave us, and had monetary expenses themselves.
Right here. Jonathan, what JLR investigates, are the parents under any investigation?
You know, as I said the other day, we were going to try to determine exactly those 49 hours. So right now, you know, anything's on the table. We still don't know what happened in those 49 hours, where she was, did she have any help? We have no idea. You know, I read the statement from Mr. Anthony, that's all we know.
Right here.
Keith Mims, WAGG 610 Summit Media. Chief, let me ask you this. What do you think prompted or provoked Carlee to do this kind of thing? And are there any kind of mental issues that the police department or the public should be concerned about, or just what?
You know, not that I'm aware of. I mean, it's, you know, this is a very elaborate deal. I mean, when you talk about calling a 911 and being up on the interstate, again, it would all be conjecture. So really, I don't know. I was hoping that we'd have an opportunity to interview and we'd be able to ask her those questions.
Were any others involved in putting this story together for her?
Mr. Anthony, in his statement, says there was not.
Right here.
Liviana Kelmes, WVRC, Fox 6 News. You said that you had a meeting scheduled and it kind of switched into a statement. Did they give any type of reason that switched?
No, they did not.
Back here.
Aaron Llewellyn, WBTM 13. But just for clarification, Carlee Russell is not in custody right now.
That is correct. That is correct.
Last question with David.
David Lamb, once again. So, first of all, when did you actually see this letter? And second of all, do these admissions and the content of the letter alter the investigation at all?
No, not at all. We'll continue to investigate. We're going to still try to determine where she was during those 49 hours. But I am glad that we received this. It at least puts some of the social media super sleuths hopefully at rest for a little bit as far as the conjecture of what everybody thinks took place. We know that by her own admission, it didn't happen, and you know, we're thankful for that.
All right, thank you guys very much.
Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here is JB Buno.
Carlee Russell admits she was never abducted, sharing a statement through her attorney that she acted alone in the abduction that wasn't, an abduction that police officials call elaborate in nature. Hello there, folks. JB here with you live on WFLA Now. You just heard it. I just heard it. This is a situation of a girl crying wolf. But why exactly a girl would cry wolf? Why exactly is really the number one question that has been in my mind. I'm sure it's been in your mind as well. If there was this, the word that was used there was elaborate, an elaborate, staged abduction. Why exactly did you do that? What are the reasons as to why? We've had conversations here on this live stream previously on this case, whether or not there was a mental health component to this case, whether or not we had somebody who was suffering from some sort of ordeal that us as reporters and you as news consumers, people that just didn't know what was really going on in that case. However, we find out more and more details about this story as to whether or not we're finding out more details about this story. And you know what? I'm going to let you, our commenters, voice what you think in regards to this story. I want to bring in, just walking in here, our own Jack Royer. Hey there, Jack. How are you?
I'm good, JB. I was just watching your stream, and I couldn't join you last week, but I thought I would join you just to talk about this if you want some context. I worked in Birmingham, and I'm from there, and I know the Hoover police chief fairly well. And I think we're all sort of trying to figure out what to make of what we just learned, what we heard from him. And, just some context here. He is a career law enforcement officer. He is a longtime chief of police at Hoover. He has been very methodical in his approach to this case. I thought it was very interesting to watch last week how he sort of indicated, look, we weren't going to talk about this until her parents started talking about this, and the way they've chosen to release information to the media, and in some cases, I think very fascinating how he has laid out the facts as he knew them, withheld some of the things he may have known until the reporter asked a certain question. But I found it very fascinating, and it's worth noting that there are district attorneys in Jefferson County. There is a cutoff district in Jefferson County that works with the Bessemer area. She was probably, I would guess, 5 to 7 miles from that area. The district attorney there has, obviously, as he noted, the discretion here on whether or not to charge Carlee Russell. I heard Nick Durzis say that he will announce charges if and when they are filed. It's anybody's guess right now whether or not that will happen, but I was glad to hear a reporter ask the question that I've personally been wondering: how much did this cost?
Yeah.
What resources were expended? Because you think about, I believe last week he said they had to fly a helicopter, they had drone teams, surely detectives working overtime. I'm guessing this will be a figure when you total up all the agencies, all the personnel, and all the equipment. I mean, it costs minimum $1,000 an hour to fly a helicopter anywhere.
Jack, there's nothing right. There's nothing that is funny about this.
No.
The word hoax has been tossed about. There's nothing funny about this
for anybody
or anybody.
No.
There's no games that should be played when it comes to missing persons cases. I shared this on stream. Can you think of what it must have been like for a parent of an actual missing person to see this case get so much media attention and then find out that it was not true, that the story that was told that was just not true?
And why did it get media attention? It's because often there is criticism of the media, I'm using that term very loosely, that we don't cover missing persons cases enough. Obviously, that's something you have championed and made a huge difference in, and our audience has made a huge difference in on WFLA Now. But I thought about the detectives who must have been putting aside other work they are doing, because just as every police department across the country is, they are stretched thin some weeks in their communities with what they have to investigate, what they have to, they always say, we hear the term, it's an ongoing investigation. That's not a throwaway line. If anybody out there is in law enforcement, you know that these things take weeks and weeks and really running to ground quite a bit of information. And all of the information that was available here, you're showing some of this 911 call right now. I'm just thinking about all of the people, but also aside from the dollar amount, aside from the investigators who had to maybe leave other assignments to go pursue this, all of the volunteers. My fiance is a news anchor at the Next Star station in Birmingham, Alabama. And so I was up there visiting her the weekend this was all going on. And I'm watching their local news, seeing all these volunteers who've come out, and they're walking along the interstate. They're looking through the woods. And the whole time I'm thinking that is not an easy place to search for someone. I don't know if you're familiar with, I know you worked in Alabama, not in Birmingham.
Yeah, and I share with our audience, I've driven on I-459 a couple of times, but not enough to say, oh, I know this exit. Right. Familiar with the area,
The spot where she is heavily wooded on both sides of the interstate. The side where she was parked, to my knowledge, where she was, it's just woods. And when I heard Nick Durz's last week describing, she says there was a fence and then a truck, I'm thinking, where would there be a semi-truck? In
a neighborhood.
Where would there be no witnesses to such a thing? Where is this chain link fence, or however he described it last week? And it started to, I'm starting to think, I don't know how this is even possible if I was going to perpetrate such a horrible crime. I don't know how I would do it in that location. But I was watching the news, seeing all these volunteers who came out to search for this person. And I just hope through all this, and this is really what I wanted to say, I hope people don't lose faith in the efforts to make headway on so many cases that need attention because of this. I hope this doesn't diminish that hope.
I can speak for the people that I know that have watched WFLA Now streams for a long time.
Yeah.
That there's just such a tremendous amount of goodwill in the social media community that focuses on missing persons cases. I don't think that's going to deter any of that. It's just frustrating for those who have loved ones who are missing. This is a case that received, and it stems from a woman sounding as if she's trying to do the right thing. Toddler on the side of the road, middle of the night, in an interstate in central Alabama, my goodness, trying to call 911. He hears a scream. All of these details makes you think, oh my goodness, this is such a goodwill, such a story of goodwill that all of a sudden takes this, evil turn. Who would do something like this? And then to find out that this didn't happen, it's going to be frustrating for people watching. It's going to be frustrating for I would imagine, for Carlee Russell's family, for the neighbors, for the community, because again, we just don't have a definitive answer as to why. Why would you do something like this? It's an actual question that I'm throwing out there. Why would somebody want to do this? Is it to hear your name on social media platforms? Is it for Are you trying to achieve social media fame? Is there something? I mean, she, again, going back to her Google search history, Jack, she's looking up the movie Taken. Is there something?
Right.
That, I mean, we don't want to go down the speculative rabbit hole too deep, but what eludes us in this case up until this point is motive. We don't know why she would do something like this.
No, and what is going to be so fascinating to watch, the district attorney in Jefferson County is a man named Danny Carr, and there have been incidences. And, as we've seen with some prosecutors in big cities, they've taken an initiative not to prosecute, certain things that they don't feel are worthy of maybe the resources. A lot of district attorneys get to have the prerogative ultimately on whether or not you charge somebody. Many legal experts would say this and would agree with me that it is not hard to get an indictment in this country, in this legal system, if you choose to do so. And certainly there is now a mountain of evidence, and it sounds like her attorney, Emory Anthony, who's a very well-known criminal defense attorney in Birmingham, Alabama, he generally, in my experience covering him, represented violent criminals and violent offenders. So I found it fascinating that I didn't hear a defense of any kind in that statement. It was an admission.
Let's really quickly, what we're going to do, because we heard it once, but I think it's really important now to hear the words in the statement and what was actually, we're going to play it back for you. But again, as a reminder, these words coming up are from Emory Anthony, the statement that was provided from Carlee Russell's attorney. And again, context, she was going to be meeting with police, with investigators today, and then backs out of that to provide a written statement instead. And this is what that written statement was back in 90 seconds on WFLA.
No kidnapping on Thursday, July 13th, 2023. My client did not see a baby on the side of the road. My client did not leave the Hoover area when she was identified as a missing person. My client did not have any help in this incident but this was a single act done by herself. My client was not with anyone or any hotel with anyone during the time she was missing. My client apologizes for her actions to this community, the volunteers who were searching for her, to the Hoover Police Department and other agencies as well, as to her friends and family. We ask for your prayers for Carlee as she addresses her issues and attempts to move forward, understanding that she made a mistake in this matter. Carlee, again, ask for your forgiveness and prayers. We have a meeting scheduled with Mr. Anthony to further discuss this case. We're currently in discussions with the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office in Bessemer about possible criminal charges related to this case, and we will announce those charges when and if they are filed.
All right, and that is the statement that was provided. Again, through Emory Anthony, the attorney. By the way, while we're talking about Emory Anthony, I was covering news in Mobile. Mm-hmm. You covered news in Birmingham. You know the area extremely well. Any reason why that attorney would be brought on in this case?
I could rattle off 3 people that you would want to retain if you were in a situation like this.
It's not a major metropolitan area, so it's not as if there is just you know,
This isn't New York City, and Emory Anthony is experienced. Again, I can't think of a case that of a certain variety in terms of violent offenders that he was not involved in. I mean, you know how it is. You cover these things. There are other attorneys who I talk to often who represent. You know, I can almost point at a case and go, "Well, I know who they're going to call," or in some cases, I know the attorney is going to call them and say, "Let me take your case." I wouldn't read too much into the thought that this meeting scheduled for today was canceled, because I don't know a defense attorney who has a client who at this point especially would say, well, sure, just go get interrogated. So I would say it's a very wise thing that if you have a client, you're going to make an admission or at least provide a statement and then say, we will meet with you or I will meet with you. But Emory Anthony is a very respected criminal defense lawyer. Read into that what you will in terms of why that person is now representing this client. But to hear that there was a meeting scheduled and then backed out on, it makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Sure.
This is somebody who has just admitted to a major mistake, what she calls a major mistake in judgment, by saying that an abduction took place when in reality it didn't. It's unpredictable behavior. What she could say in a Q&A with investigators could find, look, there's potential criminal charges looming here in this case. That's a whole other component to this story. But look, as we have a large audience here, and we know that our audience, of course, here for the press conference and then here for the post-stream coverage or post-press conference coverage, let me just deliver this for a moment. Use this as an opportunity to find missing persons cases that are genuine, that really do need your shares, really do need your retweets. I did this on Twitter this past week where I said, hey, look, just give me as many cases as you can.
I saw that, yeah.
Let's retweet as many as we can. Let's not let this be the taste in our mouths, so to speak, in regards to missing persons cases, because there are so many out there that need our help. So while I have a platform here to share that, I think it's really important that we encourage people. Missing persons cases, it's a real massive problem in this country. People go missing every single day. And so many of those cases, they are just so complex with so much unknown that they don't get this amount of law enforcement attention. They just don't get this amount of law enforcement focus. And those cases, they deserve it. They deserve what Carlee Russell received and ultimately didn't need in this case. Where was Carlee?
Who knows? Listen,
she says that she says in the statement that she wasn't with anybody.
I won't.
So,
I don't know at what point we start looking at publicly available social media platforms that have things on them. I won't draw people to that here because I think you want to confirm information before you report it. But I will say that I think things that may have been shared by her will be relevant here, things that she has said publicly, if in fact they are from her. are going to be relevant. And I just hope that the same way we're encouraging our audience not to lose faith in things that need attention, I really hope, and I know professional members of law enforcement will not be deterred by this. This is just another bump in the road in what they deal with every day. But so many questions, as you note, JB. Where was she? How did she stay hidden? They had so much data to work with, so many things providing them data. From now they've been able to examine her cell phone. They'll be able to see where she went, who she communicated with. I know crime scene investigators and homicide detectives who can, things that you think are deleted, they are able to go back and look at and find things that, like, I had a homicide detective, granted this was about 4 years ago, tell me that if you send a Snapchat, they can go find
geolocation.
That. No, they can go find what you sent for 30 days, and that helps so many crimes be solved. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. If I had to bet right now, I don't know that I could bet one way or another on whether or not Danny Carr will choose to pursue charges. Let's say he didn't because he wanted to say, what am I going to do? This happened. She was, maybe he knows stuff, I'm sure he does, that we don't. Maybe she was in a state of distress of some sort mentally and needed some help. And this is something they're going to say, we're not going to choose to prosecute her for. You've got to answer for the dollar amount that we will eventually learn about, how much this cost the taxpayer and the resources and the strain on the police. Then again, if you charge her with anything, be it obstruction, misuse of the 911 system, whatever you want to pursue, there will be people who say, cut her some slack. It's going to be very fascinating in the coming days to see how far they choose to go, because they can go very far with charging something like this if they choose to. It's just going to be the DA's prerogative.
The cut her some slack.
And I'm not suggesting that, nor am I suggesting charge her. I'm just analyzing.
Look, we do not, I want to repeat this, and I'm sorry for repeating myself. We do not know if there's a mental health component to this case.
Right.
And whether or not, or if there was another scenario at play that led her down this very calculated decision-making process to where she says that she saw a toddler, she called 911 to report the missing toddler, and then just poof, vanished out of thin air, only for the entire central Alabama community to look for her and for her to just stroll down her street and reappear at her parents' house 49 hours later. Jack, charges are more likely than not likely in this case.
I would sure think so. Again, though, it's ultimately up to the DA. We see these cases where the police have a say. We see cases here in Florida where the police say, we're not going to choose to we don't think anything unlawful happened. And then the state attorney could then come in, the state attorney in Florida, the equivalent of a DA in Birmingham, Alabama, or in the counties there. So I would struggle to see a way that she avoids some sort of criminal liability here.
It's about, really, look, criminal charges can be, it's about accountability here.
Right.
It's about responsibility for your actions.
Yes.
We are going to be focusing in on your comments, folks, and we'll see this one or talk about this one here in the center of your screen from Dolce. So what happens if no charges are filed? #HeyJB. You can use either #HeyJack or #HeyJB. We're going to start to put your comments up here on screen, provided that they have one of those hashtags. But again, if no charges are filed, it is quite literally taking a can of worms and just opening it up, because you're think about all the other jurisdictions in the country that that would be exposed and potentially vulnerable to somebody claiming that they have been abducted when in reality they weren't, spurring a massive search in their respective city or their respective county.
And remember, no criminal defense attorney would ever come out and issue an apology and basically an admission unless he saw no other way out. And what do criminal defense attorneys often, and I've seen Emory Anthony do it, they will try to reach an agreement with police in some way, or with the DA in some way. And again, very small town, comparable to most cities in this country, certainly to our area and many others. It's a small town in so many ways when you get into the nitty-gritty of this circle of people. Emory Anthony will at some point speak to Danny Carr about this, I'm sure, and they will discuss what is likely to come. But what I've seen in covering people who are represented by these types of criminal defense attorneys is there will be an agreement reached at some point that benefits both parties, where the DA can say we've agreed to charge her with this, and the client is happy with that. It may be a monetary fine, but I'm sorry. There are quite a few things here that would be hard to overlook. I don't see her pleading to 2 misdemeanors. I mean, misuse of 911 is a big deal because of the resources it pulls away from anything, a burglary, anything going on, any emergency response, and then this weekend of searching and the expense of that. Not to mention, we're going to hear a dollar amount from officials. You can't really add up the gas people put in their car to go out there and volunteer to search, the time they spent, meals that they had to eat, all of these resources for this. And I'm most interested to learn a motive and to learn what possibly could have motivated someone to go to the extremes to do this, because it wasn't a one-off, thing. It doesn't seem to me. This was very intricate. You heard Nick Durzis say it. It was an all-hands-on-deck effort because of what they heard her say on that 911 call, what family was telling them. And he said, I forget his terminology, but he essentially said, this was kind of a doozy of cases, is what I heard him communicating. And this is a guy that I've known for quite a long time. I know this has to be frustrating for him and frustrating for them. And I admire his stature and the posture he's taken on this, because I'm sure they have officers who are unhappy. The
Wednesday press conference, Jack, was so deliberate. And let me explain from a reporter's perspective for a second, folks. This past press conference, when we learned about the Google search history, when we learned about the 600 yards in the car, when we learned various details, that press conference, which we were live for, of course, police, they laid out all of the evidence. They have to get, they score marks here for transparency.
Yes.
They laid out all of the evidence, but never said, we believe she's making it up. We believe it's a hoax. We believe that we've been misled. They never said that. They just said, here's what we have on this investigation at this time. We hope to speak with Carlee to clarify her initial statement. And that's basically what they did. And that without providing my direct opinion, there is a lot that we benefit from by getting it in that format, but not necessarily them coming forward and saying, she did this.
Yes, and also we benefit from having reporters in the room who say, Chief, what does it mean to you that she traveled 600 yards? Mm-hmm. He was not going to come out and say, no baby would walk in a straight line down a busy interstate in the dark for 6 football fields. But when he was asked the question, what does that mean? He said, well, leads us to, and it shows the type of investigative work they're thinking about. Because I have to confess, when he said 600 yards, I thought, that's a long way. I hadn't thought yet of what baby, my soon-to-be stepson is 5. I can't get him to walk 6 football fields in a straight line for anything. I don't care how much candy's at the end of the line. Yeah. What baby in the... It just made no sense, but no one wanted to admit that in those first few days. I had friends who were saying, this sounds like a human trafficking scheme. And then I had other friends going, no, that this doesn't sound feasible. And then to learn these details, as you noted, the methodical way police released them, the methodical way they're still handling it. And I should note, Hoover Police has come under fire in the past in other investigations, not at all related to this, for jumping to conclusions, not always releasing all the information they knew at the time. But this has been a very... clean, clear, deliberate approach to revealing information to the public and moving forward in that way. I see this question on the screen.
Yeah, Canine Legend, has anyone heard from the family? Hashtags for us both. Again, we're going to cycle through as many of these comments and questions as possible. Your observations, you've seen them. We're cycling through them here from YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Twitter, or again, not Twitter, X?
X?
Are we going to call it X?
Now?
Are we calling it X?
I guess. I mean, I don't know what to call it anymore.
That's going to take a long time to get out of
And
my brain.
what is a tweet now? An X? Did you X me?
I'm
not used to that yet.
I know.
I don't know.
An X post?
Yeah.
Because then I think it's a former post.
But you don't want to say like the president X'd this statement, posted an X. It's going to be weird.
Twitter.
That's a whole other conversation.
And tweets just worked.
Yeah, I agree.
My dad taught me when I was a kid, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Amen.
Man. So now we're all adjusting to X's and O's and X's and Y's. And okay, look, has anyone heard from the family? The family has been silent since that press conference, which, look, and they were, Carlee Russell's parents, the family they were very public when the search efforts were ongoing. They spoke with an NBC News correspondent.
But I can
Priscilla
tell you,
Thompson.
There was frustration about that because so much local media in Birmingham turned out, showed up, covered this story relentlessly, and then there was frustration
that she was speaking to network. That the family was speaking to network news and not the local media.
Yes, because the value of local journalism is that you have relationships with people in the community that you cover. You build so many of my friends in Birmingham had communicated and helped and shown up, and not that you do it for the payoff of having an interview. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, instead of when this ended and these local reporters said, let us tell our audiences who are desperately curious for information, they want to make sure she's okay, and they said, no, we're going to talk to the Today Show, which, is their prerogative. There was a bit of disgruntlement about that, I think.
Yeah, and but that we see it so often.
Yeah,
I know. Us local journalists so often getting snubbed when the national media comes into town. It's par for the course as far as our industry. Let's see here. Let's just looking at a couple of things here. We're gonna continue to spotlight as many comments and questions on screen. I know that people are saying, stop. Look, folks. There are people who are saying in our comment section, we have seen the photos endlessly. I understand that, but this is how news live streaming works. And trust me, I don't think that we're approaching the end of the news cycle as far as the Carlee Russell story. But this should be, hopefully, again, we try to encourage people to share as much news of missing persons cases as possible. Find wherever you're watching from, find the missing person case in your town, in your city, and share that out. But we, with all of the people out here that are screaming in our comment section, at least if you believe the capital letters is screaming for accountability, screaming for responsibility, we're going to continue to show these images here on the center of your screen.
Before I have to run, JB, just to wrap up the charges conversation, to your point, and as I'm thinking about it more, yes, there's prosecutorial discretion, but I don't see a path where accountability can be avoided here. I don't see a way forward where there's not some accountability with some sort of charge for what has happened, what didn't happen, that everybody was led to believe did. If you called 911, I mean, people get in trouble for calling 911 for silly things we've talked about. Somebody calling, saying that their waffle was undercooked at Waffle House or something like that. When people call 911, there's a penalty associated with misusing that operator's time. This is what, times 100 in terms of the resources that came out to support what they believed. So it's going to be very fascinating. I will let you know if I hear anything from my friends in that market, in that region. But,
did that happen? Did somebody call a Waffle House for an undercooked waffle?
Ironically, I found one on the Tampa Police Department Facebook or YouTube channel the other day, that exact 911 call, because they shared it like 12 years ago. I was looking for something else on there. So yes, indeed. That's not a hypothetical. With that, I got to run, but I wanted to say hi.
Jack Royer here, folks, popping in. And again, his expertise extremely valuable because Jack, of course, worked in the Birmingham market for a long time. Thank you, Jack. And we'll continue to have an interactive conversation here for another 20 minutes or so on WFLA Now. Still a lot of questions that we haven't gotten to in our comment section. So what we'll try to do is get to as many of those as possible, including from Michelle. I believe this one is on Facebook Live. #HeyJB, what if she has a mental illness? Can Carlee still be charged for this crime? First and foremost, you have to demonstrate that you are somebody who is suffering from a mental illness. Mental illness, and this is something that I think needs to be stated on this live stream. And it needs to be stated and reminded, and our audience needs this reminder. Mental illness cannot be used as a crutch, an excuse for committing a crime. I'm not saying that Carlee Russell does suffer from a mental illness. I'm not saying that she doesn't. We do not know what led this woman to make the decisions that she made that night and over the course of really that day. But mental illness has to be taken seriously, extremely seriously. And so if she says that that she suffered from a mental health episode, officers and investigators shouldn't just go, oh, okay, mental health, all right, on to the next case, she's good, and move on to the next investigation. You would have to demonstrate that you suffered a mental health episode or that you have a history, a past with mental illness, demonstrate exactly what your mental illness is, and provide context as to why that mental illness would lead you to make the decisions that you made. So I understand that people are saying, asking about mental illness in relation to charges, and I'm not discrediting anything in regards to Carlee Russell, her family, or mental health is an extremely personal and private ordeal that is usually only known to that individual, and then, if anything, just a few people in that person's inner circle. I'm not saying that a mental health episode didn't occur in this case. What I am saying is that if it did occur in this case, it needs to be proven. It needs to be made clear to police. Police have to investigate that, because a lot of goodwill, a lot of resources, a lot of money, a lot of time went into searching for Carlee. And here we are now finding out that it was just a mistake, as she put it. Let's go to some of the other comments that we have here in our comment section. I want to bring up Lilac's comment. Hashtag AJB, how can Carlee ever face her community after this? Let me be clear. There's cyberbullying, and then there's real in-person bullying. And just because this young woman and this family have been through an ordeal that has reached people quite literally around the world, with people knowing Carlee Russell's name and knowing her face, that does not give anyone the free rein, the thumbs up to confront her in public and bully her in public. I think that there is going to be some tremendous challenges as far as how the family moves on from this. But let's please be mindful of the fact that these family members, if they had no idea that this was happening, that they are suffering consequences in relation to this story as well. So how can she ever face her community? Hopefully, people will find out more about this story, and hopefully in time, if charges are filed, and if Carlee, whether it's if it's a guilty conviction or pleads guilty or however the legal process plays out, you can only hope that people will in time learn to forgive. I think that there's a tremendous power in forgiveness. Clearly, we're just finding out this information now. I lived in Alabama for nearly 5 years. I can tell you there are some extremely incredible, just amazing people that live in the state of Alabama, people who are forgiving and will learn to forgive if she chooses to remain in Alabama. However, there is still a legal process that has to be played out. And as of today, I can assure you from reading these comments, people are frustrated, borderline angry that this unfolded the way that it did, based on, again, somebody making these decisions for reasons that are still unclear to us at this time. Dauber, this question was asked during the press conference about any accountability for the parents. We have no idea if the parents, and it sounds as if at this particular time the parents aren't being under a direct investigation. The harsh sort of police spotlight isn't on the parents here. The parents, by all accounts, at this stage in the story, they were just trying to do the right thing and helping find their daughter. So people who are bringing up the parents in our comment section, it is very likely. We can't say with certainty until we know more about the story, but there is a very likely chance that they are victims in their own way in relation to this story, because if this is something that caught them completely off guard and they were just trying to act as any mom or dad would and trying to find their daughter, then they are now dealing with their own ramifications of what has transpired at no fault of their own. You could argue, depending on, again, the intricacies of the family, how and what happened to Carlee in days and years past. There's just so much we don't know about the family dynamic. So people who are pointing fingers at the parents in our comment section, I ask you to reserve judgment until we find out more about the story. They might have been completely blindsided by this, doing everything they could to give Carlee a good life, and being completely blindsided about this. That is a very plausible scenario here. We just don't know, and it sounds as if police, the focal point of their investigation is Carlee herself, especially after the statement that she released today saying that she acted on her own. Again, acted on her own. But then again, that brings up the comment as well that we had earlier. Could she have really been alone for 49 hours? Where was Carlee Russell for 49 hours? How do you just pull off that magic act? How do you vanish for 49 hours with the entire community looking for you? Flyers being passed out, endless media attention, groups combing through the woods, knocking on doors, doing everything they can to spread the word. How do you just avoid all of that attention? Where did you go? I'm asking fundamentally, just as a curious human being, not even as a reporter. I'm just asking, how do you vanish out of thin air like that? It was dark that night. We've seen it in the video endlessly. It was very dark, not a lot of lights out there. So if you disappeared into the woods, you get a pretty good head start. You could find a way to reemerge on the other side of the woods and then go somewhere. But where are you going to go? What spot did you find? And were you in one spot for 49 hours? Were you watching news coverage somewhere with this all unfolding? I mean, she didn't have her phone. We know that she didn't have her phone. But were you aware that the entire world was, in essence, talking about you and people wanting to know where you were and wanting to know if you were safe, wanting to believe your story? Were you aware that the world in Alabama and beyond stopped for your well-being? Major questions that remain. DJ Jackson, do you think Carlee Russell will be jailed or charged? Look. She has admitted to doing something that qualifies as breaking the law, no doubt. So this isn't, I'm providing context here, not an opinion. I'm just providing context based on just the basics here, the fundamentals of the case. It is more likely than not that Carlee Russell is going to face the music, so to speak. She's going to have to face some sort of charges, some responsibility for her actions. Will she be jailed is a completely other question that is way too early as far as where we are in the story. It's just way too early for us to answer that question. People were commenting earlier, and I saw your comments scrolling in about what a potential punishment could look like, what a sentence could look like. We're just way too early for that. I know that people were commenting about a fine and community service versus being jailed. We don't know. It's way too early. It would be highly improper and inappropriate of us to look into, what the legal process has to play out. She hasn't even been charged yet, so we don't want to be irresponsible here. Alyssa, #HeyJB, what are the chances she had a burner phone? I think police would have found out that by now, but you can get a burner phone relatively easily. And we've seen burner phones in other cases that we've covered here on WFLA Now. So is there a chance that, look, the burner phone wasn't purchased when she stopped at the Target. We know that there were the Cheez-Its, right, and the granola bars, I believe. Those snacks that weren't in the vehicle. But if a burner phone had been purchased at the Target, or if there was a credit card transaction of any kind, any record of any kind of somebody buying what is called a burner phone, which is a phone that you do not intend to keep for a long period of time. It's one that you intend to discard. I think by now police probably would have found out about that. That would have been a very telling piece of information, but can't say for sure, Alyssa. Sarah. Oh, no, hold on. That's not the comment. I don't know. Oh, I know what you're saying here, Sarah. An empty property. I can't speculate. I clicked on the wrong comment here. They're scrolling in very, very fast. But Beedaboo. Hashtag KJB. What type of precedent does this make if she is not charged? I'll let you kind of fill in the blank. Choose your adjective of choice as far as what kind of precedent this would set if somebody could do this deliberately, consciously make these decisions, and then not face any charges. What word would you pick? Blank precedent. I'll let our comment section speak for itself. I'll let you guys comment and fill in the blank yourselves, because I think it's very clear what kind of precedent it sets for somebody to break the law and then to not face any accountability or not face any charges from law enforcement. But I'll let you guys fill in, and I'll read some of those comments coming in as far as the type of precedent that it would set. Boyd says bad. A bad precedent. Not seeing too many other adjectives. Just seeing comments continuously scroll in. Yeah, that exercise didn't go out as I thought it would. Not seeing too many people fill in the blank. But oh my goodness, Phil, that comment, no. People asking in our comment section about capital punishment. That is absolutely crazy and outlandish, but speaks to, again, the social media reaction to this story. But that is absolutely, that's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. You would absolutely never, ever face that scenario given what has transpired. No way. Zero chance. I can definitively tell you, zero chance. Karen says, I hope Hoover understands the message they are sending, whatever they decide to do with Carlee Russell. You know that law enforcement agencies across the country are going to be watching this because, again, of you don't want copycat behavior. If Carlee Russell does not face charges, you open the door for copycat behavior. And I can tell you, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of other law enforcement agencies across the country that do not want a copycat of this situation. No way. No how. They don't want it. Ice Queen 007, where's the donor's money going? Yeah, the Crime Stopper money. I have not seen any updates as to where that $60,000, or I think it was $63,000, somewhere $60,000 plus, where that money is going. We have not received an update. They're still determining how to best respond given the surprising, if you will, turn with this story. We have another about 5 to 6 minutes here on stream, folks. We're going till the top of the hour. Sharon's asking the same question. I mean, hey, anybody in our comment section make a donation, trying to do the right thing and feel like I want my money back? Wouldn't blame you. Wouldn't blame you at all. We did run a poll on our previous live stream, and some people were suggesting, hey, just take that $60,000 and put it towards another missing persons case. But most people said the right thing to do, again, according to our unscientific social media poll, the right thing to do is to just refund the money. Send it back to the people that made those contributions. Cindy, opinion from our commenter, wondering if there's going to be charges from taking from her employer. Again, from the spa, taking the robe, and what was the other item that she took? Again, accused of taking, according to police, she's accused of taking the robe and the toilet paper, the roll of toilet paper. That again, according to police from the previous press conference. It will, considering that there's an employee, employer relationship there, and given the seriousness of the potential other charges that would be filed, is that a tack-on charge? Is that something I don't know, but Cinda brings up a good point here, to not forget about that as well. Why is nobody mentioning Sherry Papini? Yeah, look, Google it, folks. I don't think we have enough time on this live stream to go over that. If you want to go down a rabbit hole on another case that has parallels to this one, Google Sherry Papini at some point tonight. We'll do it now. You might learn something. Yeah, mom. That's not my mom, or it could be my mom. Just mom on YouTube Live. Which is mom. It says #HeyJB. Biggest question, why? It's my biggest question too. Why? Why would you do something like this? If the idea was social media fame, you're not going to be famous as a result of this. You would be infamous. There would be infamy attached to your name. So only Carlee Russell knows why you would do something like this. Let's see here. Yeah, some comments. Look, there's some people have very choice words for Carlee Russell. I would be, as somebody who reads your comments and promises to provide you with an idea as to what our commenters are saying, it would be, look, again, there are people who have very choice words, people who are very frustrated over the situation because they believe that their goodwill was taken advantage of, whether you donated, whether you shared, whether you followed the story. People who feel like this is just so wrong, especially bringing a toddler into the equation, leading people to believe that a kid was roaming the interstate late at night. There's just so much frustration boiling over in our comment section right now. And it wouldn't be right for me to not just state that I know that people are frustrated. I see your comments, but some of the choice words that people are using are not exactly stream appropriate, not exactly news appropriate. Other channels on the internet that don't have the WFLA branding, that don't have, of course, that are not hosted by a reporter, by a journalist, you might see some of the frustration appear in those comments on screen. I cannot. People who, again, are using very specific words to describe the situation, I just can't put those comments up on screen despite the fact that you're using the hashtag. Jenna, we might end out on this one. Will Carlee ever make a statement to the public? How about we ask you, YouTube Live? You know what? I'm not even gonna do that poll. I'm not even gonna do it. Let's just look. I think that we, as people who shared news of this story of her disappearance, hoping that she would be found, hoping that the toddler would be found, I think that we all deserve answers. I do. But if Carlee Russell did speak and a news organization decided to air that interview and take up, let's say network news airtime, that's airtime that could be dedicated to some other cause or case or missing persons investigation that desperately needs it. So, yeah, we deserve answers as to what happened with Carlee Russell. But if that interview ever took place, if there was ever a Netflix documentary done about this story, don't you think that there are so many other missing persons cases that deserve, so quote unquote, the Netflix treatment rather than this one, where some real, true, honest good could come out of it, rather than just us eating our popcorn on our couches, wanting to know why someone would look? You can read it in an article. You can read a reporter's synopsis, a reporter's written documentation of what Carlee describes as the reason as to why she did this. But let's not forget that there are so many other cases, so many other stories, so many other causes that deserve our attention. So will a statement ever be released? It might. Will it ever play out in a courtroom? It's possible. But let's all just collectively remind ourselves that there are so many other people, so many other causes that need and require our attention. And that was why I think I shared 20 or so, 30 or so active missing persons cases on my Twitter feed over the last week, just trying to get share counts, retweets up, and trying to get some faces out there, some names. You'd be surprised at how social media can sometimes provide a massive break in a case that otherwise would have been overlooked, forgotten about, swept under the rug over the course of time. So that's going to do it for our live stream. I'm not sure if we will ever have another live stream on this story. I'm actually asking myself in my brain right now, would we ever, share? If I suppose if Carlee Russell maybe were to speak and do so publicly and offer the same apology through her attorney that she gave to law enforcement, offer that same apology to the public, I suppose that's something that we would share with you, our audience. But as to whether or not we'll be seeing more of the Carlee Russell story on this live stream on WFLA Now, I can't express much hope that we will, other than the legal process will play out as it will. We'll find out if charges are going to be filed. We'll find out whether or not Carlee Russell, and through her attorney, whether or not she would say that she is guilty of those charges or not guilty of those charges. We will find out if there is a mental health component to this case, although, again, I caution that if there is a mental health component of this case, that is not just to be taken blindly. That is something to be examined and for police to do a thorough investigation into, to make sure that is in fact true. Of course, we never want to belittle mental health illness as a scapegoat or as a potential just excuse for doing the things that you do. There's more to come out of this story, no doubt. There's more to come out of this story. But again, I encourage our audience to find the missing person in your town. find the case in your town that deserves attention. Share it out. And I promise you, when you hit the share button, when you post, when you retweet, you'll feel better about it. You'll feel glad that you did, because you'll be exposing it to a network of people that might otherwise never heard of that person or known of that person's face or known of their story. So I appreciate everybody joining us here on WFLA Now in the Stream Center. Again, not saying that we won't have another Carlee Russell related live stream if there is a significant development in the future, one that we feel that you need to know about. Of course, we'll live stream it. But we're now finding out more about what exactly happened in this case, and where this takes us from here. The future is unknown regarding this story in particular. So if you want to follow me, folks, for updates, if there isn't a live stream and if it's just a release of information, a press release, a tweet, a statement provided by the family, a statement provided by Emery Anthony, the attorney for Carlee Russell and the Russell family, anything like that. If you're looking for updates on this story, if you're looking for more live streams about missing persons cases, if you're looking for more live streams about, of course, breaking news, top stories, things that we cover here interactively on WFLA Now, you can follow me at WFLA JB across social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can follow me. Oh yeah, I said Twitter again. No, I'm going to keep saying Twitter until I believe this X thing. So I will X updates in the future. It's just so weird, man. I'm so used to saying tweeting. It's been more than a decade of me using Twitter professionally and tweeting information. So it's going to take a long time for that rebranding to sink in, Elon. But look, in the future updates, I'll provide them on my social media platforms. You can also find the latest on this story, developments as they happen, on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. If you are looking to provide feedback, if you think that there's a certain story that we should be covering on our live stream, you can send it to the WFLA News Department by sending an email to news@WFLA.com. If you're trying to get a hold of me directly, you can follow me on social media at WFLAJB, or you can send me an email directly by sending that email to heyjb@WFLA.com. A thank you to our YouTube moderators for helping keep our comment section kind, respectful, and welcoming to all. The latest on Carlee Russell on this story, you can find it on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. Thanks so much for watching, folks, and we'll see you next time on WFLA Now.